A strikingly obvious new medical phenomenon. Two tiers of service chosen by the physicians and surgeons based upon lifestyle. By Renée Lindstrom, author of Somatic Archetypes. I used to have the privilege of traveling to Hawaii when in the hospitality industry. This was before having children. After having children and taking them, I noticed an immediate change in the way the peddlers on the street scrutinize people. As a somatic empath, it stood out, and the brazen and callous behaviors seemed shocking. It took a few years to fully take this in, as it was disturbing. Imagine coming across this pattern in our very own medical system. This has been a harder reality to absorb. It's been 3 years and took a long time to process. Rather than judge, blame, and shame and become righteous, I decided to take a minute and explore why they may be responding to patients requiring medical support in the way I experienced. What I was witnessing were physicians selecting the medical directions patients would be taken down. It seemed it was a two-tiered system. It seemed to be based upon patients' willingness to accept the lifestyle changes required to support the procedure's success. The aggressive route would not be offered unless the patient could reach a bar reflecting the level of sustained health that would indicate they were on board with the work needed to change their lifestyle choices. Those that didn't take the necessary steps to change and showed no promise of doing so were given a prognosis and maintenance. I learned it really is up to the patient themselves. The patients, of course, aren't recognizing this level of scrutiny they are under and not aware they aren't a part of the decision-making choices. If they don't show interest in changing to transform their lifestyle, they won't receive the aggressive procedures. I live in Canada, and it is my opinion that Canadians were lulled into a mindset that goes hand in hand with free medical care. As an alternative practitioner, it is a hindrance in people not doing the work needed themselves as they can go in for acute care. For years, I've witnessed people going to others for health care and showing no interest in making changes in their lifestyle. Instead, going to health practitioner after health practitioner, giving their power away to a higher authority. When it doesn't work, they blame that person they went to, even when they didn't keep up with the recommendations for building their own health and well-being. These have been eye-opening experiences. However, I have observed a change and a loss of the medical system supports that sleepy Canadians have become used to. The service is not there anymore. There are no more family doctors or even pop-up medical centers that push them out. They came and they went quickly. So now people are lining up in emergency wards to get personal family doctor needs met. What I have noticed Canadians do is accept it and, of course, in the process, complain about it. Passive-aggressive. I see a few signs lingering on lawns in my community as a passive protest stating the need for family doctors. However, I am witnessing another pattern emerging. People who have used the free medical system aggressively now make decisions to travel and pay to get procedures done. With the loss of access or long delays, these same people who struggle to pay for services are now spending large sums of money to go for the acute care they have come to expect here at home. In some countries, it's called medical tourism. I believe in the past, people from these countries offering medical tourism came to Canada for medical needs to be met. Role reversal. So what is happening here in my community? When I look at those physicians making the decisions, they are fit, groomed, and it is obvious they work out. They speak a language of healthy foods and have expectations that the patients embrace or agree to shift and align their lifestyles with these patterns. The medical services that were available across the board equally to all patients seems to be separating into a hierarchical system. This is my opinion based upon what I have experienced. What does this mean for Canadians who aren't taking care of their fitness and following a good eating plan? reduced services, and maintenance programs with no options for aggressive procedures that those who are reflecting a fitter lifestyle would get. I suspect that the governance behind the free medical service is supporting this pattern of physicians and surgeons choosing who goes down which path. Canadians who have received the aggressive procedures will not have experienced this pattern of another choice, and it may not even be a familiar medical conversation. Those who are experiencing it may not recognize it as such. It depends on focus of attention and their ego. Instead of taking responsibility for where they find their fitness levels to be, they could project outwards and go into right and wrong thinking and wanting to blame and shame the physicians for making their choices. The other option is that they are so relieved at not making lifestyle changes that they justify their choices and eventually blame and shame. It all comes down to denial of personal responsibility for self-care through lifestyle choices. That is what the physicians and surgeons are basing their choices on. Also, the patient support system. As a somatic lifestyle wellness practitioner, I have run into this experience of duality where some students will quickly adapt their lifestyle to receive the mental, emotional, and physical benefits, and others do not. Their interest is in maintaining the status quo and intention to be fixed. Somewhere, Canadians have been under the illusion that they can get acute care and that they will be fixed, and they go on to ignore the procedure recommendations for fitness and eating plans. I believe there is a shift happening in our medical system that we are not overtly being advised of. It is appearing in the experience in the medical office and hospital room. The services have been cut back, and those who have been used to getting by without obvious actionable participation in their own self-care are no longer being given the options they once had and still expect. This is an elusive social change pattern. The question that comes up for me now is, what is this reflecting in our cultural conditioning? This direction is one that is elusive and only known by those who recognize it in the experience of it. There has been no information given to Canadians to state that these shifts have been decided upon. It's simply in the system and has been. It is a mind-warping experience that is not an expectation. There is a change and no one was informed. The mind warp is the interpretations and expectations. Please follow my podcast on YouTube to listen to future episodes, the go-to dialogues from an authentic perspective of a somatic empath. Great dialogues for parents, child educators, and essentially anyone who is in relationships, friendships, families, community groups, and who works in a community environment, and those making lifestyle choices and decisions. Thank you. If you liked, please subscribe and hit the like button. Thank you, and I'll catch you on the next one.